Welcome everybody to a rather interesting video here on G4G. I am your not amused host, Napalm Dawn. So today we're going to go ahead and talk about the news that came out about the exclusivity of Spider-Man coming to Marvel Avengers only on the PlayStation. And similar to how American politics are going, people have been spun out to the extremes on this one. They've either been spun out to the top or they've been spun out to the bottom on their feelings for it. As we can see here on this PlayStation blog, you're going to see the rather divisive split that the community has for this. So one thing that I want to point out, back when the footage of Marvel Avengers was first coming out, when they had premiered it at E3, and then the footage was starting to hit the web, and the original wave of Marvel Avengers takedown was happening with the footage of Black Widow having a chin that cuts glass and all the other unattractiveness of the visuals that came from that first reveal. There had been a running joke name for it, saying that it was Marvel Avengers. Now, I searched for it just now, just to see if there was any of those funny pictures that existed from the time, and the first hit for Marvel Avengers is my my own video, which is kind of funny. And wow, okay, I've never seen this link over here, this TH Cam. I'm gonna have to check that out over here. But yeah, okay. I just find that a little bit of funny, a little bit of self pat on the back over there. So the PlayStation blog over here happens to highlight what is going on with Spooderman showing up for Marvel's Avengers in 2021. He's going to be one of the first characters that'll hit the game outside of Hawkeye, which has already been revealed. Now, if I can diverge for a moment on that Hawkeye reveal, I kind of feel that Hawkeye really reminds me of Theo Rossi of Luke Cage fame over here. Hey, look, Marvel Avengers Alliance art. But this Hawkeye over here really does remind me of the guy who played one of the bad cops in the Luke Cage series on Netflix. I'm not that crazy about the visual of it. The shaved head, I'm not a big fan of, although some people would say, maybe post-apocalyptic type setup, it'd kind of make sense. I definitely plan to slap him in his t-shirt outfit as soon as I can with him. I don't like his standard look a heck of a lot. And, I mean, to be fair, we have to understand the point. This is not grounded in the MCU, so we're not going to see MCU representations. But I still think you can make characters that look good. Like this Thor is obviously not the MCU. Now, that Hulk is weird. I wouldn't ever want to play with that Hulk. But that Iron Man, that Captain, that Spider-Man, that Thor all look like something that I would enjoy playing if that's how they looked in my game. Instead, we get Tony Stark with the weird eye slits and everything. That Hulk is it's creepy. But anyway, so his allying with Marvel's Avengers Heroes is in perfect symmetry with my exposure to the character. When I was young, I had a massive collection of Spider-Man books and everything. So this is basically a blog about them talking about how Spider-Man's going to show up in the game and everything like that. Now, some people have had concerns about all the heroes' traversals in Marvel Avengers. Now, obviously, Hulk is going to take big leaps. Iron Man is going to fly. Thor is probably going to throw Mew Mew for his traversal. But we've already seen evidence that Kamala Khan will embiggen her hands for traversal and use them as a grappling hook. Black Widow's going to do it. Spider-Man most likely is going to do the exact same thing, clearly. I mean, of all the characters who is going to traverse the maps that way, it's going to be him. People are getting a little concerned that perhaps everybody's traversals are going to start feeling a little samey. I don't think that will be true as long as there's a variety of characters. Now, here in this blog, they make a mention of, Hank Pym. So, boosted with a little help from his new friends, partnering with the Avengers gives Spider-Man complete access to impressive technology to the team, such as custom web shooter-based technology from Hank Pym of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Stark Industries and more. I wonder if this is a little bit of a teaser that we're going to get Ant-Man in the game. And if so, what would be the basis? The classic Hank Pym or the more modern Scott Lang? Now, since this isn't pulling from the MCU, they could go really super classic over here. There you go. Those classic looks. And, there's flash flood alerts over here going off for North Carolina, thanks to the hurricane and everything. But, oh, yeah. I thought Pym was... I thought I saw him in the screenshot, but I guess not. It was Red Hulk that I was thinking of. I really wonder if that's a little bit of a hint that Pym is going to show up. But let's talk about the exclusivity. So if you come down in the comments, you get a very interesting breakdown of comments over here. You get a lot of people bemoaning the fate of Spider-Man only coming to the PlayStation. Some people are saying they're even canceling their PC pre-order because of it. Now, they haven't specified that they would cancel their PC pre-order to move it over to the PlayStation. They're just mentioning, well, I was excited for this, but now I'm going to cancel my PC pre-order. And then you get a lot of people who are legitimately antagonistically happy that, like this guy here, they don't deserve nothing, so they don't get nothing. This sort of aggressive stance of nobody deserves Spider-Man other than the PlayStation people. Now, obviously, Sony is wrapped up in this. There is the debate going on as to whether or not Sony paid for this to get an exclusive, or is it because Sony had the movie rights? But because they have the movie rights, does that mean they also have video game rights? Which, in reality, with him showing up on the Switch for Ultimate Alliance, people are saying no. It's kind of a mess. And to bring up the console exclusivity of things like Ultimate Alliance only on the Switch, you'll probably see it spread to other digital stores relatively soon. Now, if you remember, Ultimate Alliance showed up on Steam, even though it had been on the 360 and everything. It got there. I mean, it was many, many years later, and it actually wasn't good when it first launched, but it did get there. Software being specific to a console is one thing, but when you have a multi-console release game and only one console is getting a particular DLC, and it's not even like there's a comparison. Some people are like, yeah, just wait for Thanos to show up on the Xbox version or something like that. Yeah, I would not put stock in that happening at all, but it is not like other console versions are getting something different, like what Soul Calibur used to do, where like here's Darth Vader, but here's Link, and here's Spawn. Maybe Spawn was Mortal Kombat, But you remember exactly what I'm talking about when I bring up Soul Calibur and the exclusives and everything. Now, for me, knowing that the PlayStation closed beta is coming a week earlier, knowing that Spider-Man is coming exclusively to the PlayStation, I'm now kind of Spock or The Rock raising an eyebrow over my decision to go with a PC pre-order instead of the PlayStation. I think at the time that I did it, I'd like to go back in time to the moment I decided on this and figure out what I was thinking, but I think at the time I thought, I'm really burdening my PlayStation with a lot of stuff lately. I'm going to be dealing with Final Fantasy VII on it. I still have a huge library of unplayed games on it. Now I've added Ghost of Tsushima to it. Plus, PlayStation games playing it mobile is a little bit tougher because if you're not on a PS4 Pro, your PlayStation only connects to the 2.4 gigahertz broadcast and not the 5 gigahertz. So it can make quality streaming a little bit tougher. And I knew it would be easier to do that on the PC and even on the Xbox. So I may have gone with PC mostly to have easy access to doing videos on the game and getting the closed beta and open beta information out to you guys on the channel. I don't think I would change it for Spider-Man or the early access, but it is a little bit like this. It's an eyebrow raiser. So this announcement, again, has been pretty divisive even over on Twitter. So like this guy over here, Ultimate Marvel's Alliance 3, Black Order was Switch exclusive, blah, blah, blah. That's the thing. This was just a game. And it's a game that came out a while back now at this point, where exclusivity has really become... It's getting pushed away from that. And Sony and Xbox or Sony and Microsoft are beginning to bridge the gap a little bit. Now, this picture is a good example of something else that we need to consider with this. It's not just that the Sony version is gaining Spider-Man. The Sony version is gaining Spider-Man and what would eventually be his suits. We know the game is doing uniforms and everything. I mean, we've seen Grey Hulk or Joe Fixit Hulk. We've seen casual Thor. We've seen casual Hawkman. Or Hawkman, that's DC. Ooh, that's a bad take. Erase. We've seen casual Hawkeye. We've seen Miss Marvel in several uniforms. We've seen some different skins for Iron Man, including some ones I really would be interested in. Some high-tech Black Widow, or the Stark tech on the whole team. So we know it's not just going to be Spider-Man. You may see things like big-time Spider-Man, or Punk, or... I mean, I don't think they would go with Spider-Ham, because that would be a whole model. Probably wouldn't go with the Miles Morales skin. And the other thing is, it's going to be different from the Sony Spider-Man game on the PlayStation. It's not going to be that universe of Spider-Man. It's going to be unique. So it doesn't necessarily have to pull from the same uniforms the game does, but likely there's going to be a lot of crossover. I mean, how could it not? They're very classic Spider-Man uniforms in there. I mean, look at the old Marvel Heroes game and how many uniforms they had there, and then when you look at Strike Force and Future Fight, you see a lot of correlation. Simply because it was a game that had so many uniforms. So you're probably going to see very similar uniforms from Marvel Avengers to the Spider-Man game. They're probably going to be tweaked slightly. That's the thing about Marvel Avengers, is things are tweaked slightly enough that they could put that stamp on it and say, yeah, we tweaked it a little bit. It's not going to be a one-to-one correlation to other things that we've seen. Watching Civil War on the Xbox, watching it on the PlayStation. Yeah, it's... People are concerned about it, and they draw these idiotic parallels of what about Halo, What about the fire truck going by? What about Mario and Zelda and Pokemon and Metroid and Smash Brothers and everything? Again, those are software exclusives, and they are exclusive to the actual game itself, not a mostly universal game release that is having a console specific character here. Stupid X nerds and PC frauds can't. I mean, it's. I like this one. Gonna cry about it. Um, there's the people who are crying about it, and then there's the people making fun of the criers, which is just, I mean, it's typical of the internet in 2020. This is where we are. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to switch up my pre-order for it. Um, I'm going to like the access of having it on the PC, being able to do videos, being able to stream it, and everything like that. Um, and I don't necessarily care about Spider-Man that much that I would have to change things midstream to get him. Now, it could be that it is a timed exclusive, like a year thing. Borderlands has shown up on Steam after being out on the Epic Store for a year. And I almost feel like that year really, really flew by. It's the year anniversary of Borderlands 3. And I feel that that entire year has completely gone by at 90 miles an hour. It doesn't feel like that game has been out a year. I feel like that game came out maybe 9 to 10 months ago, not 12. So if that's the case, and a year later Spider-Man shows up on other consoles, it might not be the most awful thing in the world. I don't want it to be exclusive to anything, but if it's going to be, having it be timed is maybe not that bad. The other thing about this, though, is aside from the skin, they said over in the blog that you are going to be doing Spider-Man specific things in the game. I don't know if it's to unlock him or just like, here he is, but here are some specific missions so that you get used to him and whatnot. They've made mention he's not just going to get dropped in. He's not just going to be a penny in the giant coin jar of all of this. He's going to get his own content. That also means people on other consoles are really going to be missing out, because they're missing out on Spider-Man, they're missing out on his skins, and they're going to be missing out on whatever content they design around Spider-Man. So it's really a triple whammy over there, and I'm not particularly happy about it. I'm not going to cry about it. It's not, I mean, it's Spider-Man. It would be fun to have him, but I think you're going to get some somewhat similar gameplay out of a lot of the characters anyway, but I'm getting a little bit more used to this style. I still don't like the eyes around the Iron Man mask. Black Widow, at least in this art, is still a little jut-jawed. Steve Rogers, aka Tactical Dad Bod's, sort of beginning to grow on me. I still hate this suit, though. This suit is awful. Thor with hubcaps. I hate his chest plate over there so much. It truly looks like plastic and rubber and like aluminum plated dinnerware. And Hulk, he just has a very strange build in this. It's a very in shape, out of shape guy from Family Guy. When you see it, yeah, everyone without a PlayStation right now. So, what do you guys think? Are you a PlayStation fan that is thrilled about it and that you're now happy you made the decision to go on the PlayStation for your order? Have you been holding off on pre-ordering and now this makes your decision easier? If you have pre-ordered and it's not PlayStation, how do you feel? And what do you think about the comparison to other games that are console specific? I personally feel that's not a comparison to, say, comparing Spider-Man in this game to Ultimate Marvel Alliance over on the Switch. I think it's very apples and oranges, but I'm I'm really curious as to what you think. And here's the thing. What about cross account kind of stuff? So for example, if you have a PlayStation and you have a PC and you decide to pick it up for both so that you can play with some friends here and some friends there. If you get Spider-Man on the PlayStation version, now what they could do is do cross account spanning and make it so that your progress on your PlayStation account would also be your Xbox progress and your PC progress, because maybe you're logging into a specific account for Marvel Avengers. That would be a way of bringing Spider-Man to other consoles and still somewhat limit the exclusivity of it. You're being forced to buy 2 copies of it. However, if you did buy 2 copies of it and one of them's a PlayStation 1, you can get Spider-Man. Just make the content available in the game so that if you have Spider-Man unlocked by having the PlayStation, you can sit down in your PC and play the Spider-Man missions and everything like that, or join co-op and be Spider-Man with your PC people. It'd even be a more interesting way to drive up the envy of it. If you're swinging around the Spider-Man with your PC friends and like, oh man, Spider-Man's really cool, I want to play Spider-Man too, it might actually drive more sales to PlayStation 4 and 5 and the PlayStation version of the game. You could actually be a little bit more aggressive in the marketing of it that way by allowing crossplay. But I don't know. We'll see. I don't know what'll happen. I don't think I will change my mind. I don't think I would even own another copy of the game. I've never done that. I've done it with some free stuff. Like when the Epic Store is like, okay, here's the Handsome Collection of Borderlands. When I've already had 1 and 2 and pre-sequel on the 360. I got it because they were going to give it to me, but I would never spend money to get a PC version of a game that I have on the PlayStation or had been a PlayStation exclusive, but now I can get it on the PC too. Like, say Bloodborne shows up on Steam next week. I'm not going to pay for Bloodborne that I've already beaten 1.5 times just to get it on the PC. I don't care how pretty it might look, but anyway, what do you guys think about this exclusivity? I'm definitely very curious. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.